Hello. So today I am going to work on a drawing of the clothed figure. So I have this model who is a costumer who commissioned me to do this drawing. So they're not trans or gender fluid or anything like that, but because he's wearing this dress, I think I want to make it like a kind of a gender fluid or trans image. So I'm going to add some elements of that are going to have like the trans pride flag in it when I draw it. This isn't the ideal photo. He took it himself and sent it to me, and it's a little bit above. Like ideally, the photograph should be like from waist height so that they don't look so tall. So I'm going to lengthen it a little bit to make them a little bit taller, which will help to fix a little bit of the problem with the viewpoint of the camera. So to begin, I am going to start laying it out with a colored pencil. Oh, so the paper is just regular white typing paper, but I rub a pastel powder on it and rub it in. I'm going to do the drawing in Trait Crayon, which is in 3 colors. So there's going to be a brown colored pencil, a black regular pencil, white gouache and Conte crayon, and I'm going to add just a touch of pink and blue with marker and colored pencil to give it the trans flag colors. So I forgot that I need some paper underneath. So this is to pad my drawing so that the line quality is better. And I'm going to go ahead and start. So the first thing I'm going to do is start to lay out the head. So let's see. I'm going to basically draw it the same scale as the original. So that means that the head is going to be right about up here. It's about this big. The wig comes up like this. The neck is right here. Okay, so I'm going to start taking measurements. So what I normally do, if that's going to be the size of his head, I'm going to draw a little mark right there. So first I'm going to do it on the original. So I drew it almost the exact same size. I'm going to try to go for the same scale. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's almost exactly 7 heads tall because of the angle of the photo. People are usually more like 7.5 to 8 heads tall, but because the photos, the angle is a little high, it makes him look shorter. So I'm going to draw my drawing more like about right there, maybe even a little longer, to give him some more height. So then I'm going to come back over here and do the same thing. So my first head was here, so I'm going to go down 1, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the skirt, I'm going to have, ultimately the skirt's going to end right around there somewhere. So now what I want to start doing is laying out his head more concretely. So there's an angle that goes along, so if I lay my pencil on the side, it does this really strong angle. So I'm going to draw that angle first, which I kind of indicated earlier. There's another counter angle for his chin, and then it goes up like this. The mouth is right around there. The eyes, let's say, if the wig is starting up here, the eyes are going to be, so this is the forehead, the eyebrows, the eyes are about there. I think the mouth is just a little bit lower. Okay, so there's more or less where the face is going to be. I'm actually going to fold another piece of paper and put it on the bottom so that I can, I want to protect the drawing, the paper from, I'm trying to find a clean sheet of paper so it's not too distracting. So I'm trying to, if I rest my hand on it, my sweat will make the paper wrinkle. So I have both of these papers folded to protect the paper from my own hands, from getting dirty with my hands and the sweat of my hands. So, so this is more or less the kind of a map of what their face is going to be doing. I'm going to refer to them by the pronoun they, even though the model actually goes by he, because I want my drawing to reflect like a gender fluid or trans identity. So I'm going to go ahead and start like laying out more carefully the proportions of their face and eyebrows. So I'm going to move, I'd drawn the eyes too close in, so I'm going to draw them further back, further out, like that. On this side, the eye touches the edge of their face. The eyelashes climb up like that. Their nose is right here. Their lips just a little bit in. They have kind of pouty lower lips. They kind of, there's a bit of shadow right there. There's just a touch of space where the side of their mouth goes out. So I want to emphasize that. So I really want it to feel like a gender fluid person and not just a woman. So I'm going to emphasize a little bit the parts of their face that are more pronounced, like the jutting bone right here, you know, because I want to emphasize the masculine qualities to their face, because I really want it to feel like there's a play with gender happening here, in addition to the elements that I'm going to add to their clothes of the trans flag. So that is kind of, I'm pretty happy with that. So that's the way the face looks so far. So that's just like a rough drawing, and I'm going to come back and really like build that up. But now I am going to start laying out the rest of their figures. So the way I'm drawing the face right now is the exact same thing I would be doing if I had a live model. So like in that case, I stretch out my arm and mark the model with my thumb. At the moment, because of the quarantine, it's hard for anybody to draw a live model anywhere, but I would be doing the exact same thing. So the one head is on their finger right there. So that means that just above that is where this is going. And also, I'm gonna lay down my pencil straight down. So from the outside of their eye, straight down, it's gonna basically be this line. So it's just on the outside of their hand. The other side of their hand, if it goes up, is like way outside their face. So when I go down, this is the one hand, the one head down. I'm going to start laying in the hand a little bit. So the hand is going to be about here. Their thumb is about, let's see, yeah, I'm doing it right. So the hand is going to be here. There's a finger going out there. The dress, I had drawn it too low there. It starts at the level of their mouth on the outside, like right there. So that's going to be going out like that. The sleeve comes in there. That's going to be coming down. This comes in like this. Okay, now that I kind of have the hand indicated and I know where this is, I'm going to draw the angle of the bodice right there. It moves out and down and then up on the outside. Let's see what the angle of that is. It's pretty much straight up and down. And then it's going to come out. Okay, so then we have one more down, is close to the bottom of the bodice. So this line in the middle is on the outside of that. It goes a little bit further than where that is. Then it comes in and up like this. That's going to be, it's going to come up like that. Okay, so then this arm is moving out. I'm drawing too far out, sorry. This comes out like this. This comes down above this point right here. The hand is here, it moves in like this. Okay, so another thing to keep in mind is that at this point I'm drawing basically with the side of my pencil, and I'm drawing extremely lightly. So I barely erase when I draw. Like I do a little bit, but not much. It's like what I want to do at this point is do these exploratory lines that are going to kind of discover the figure as I'm going. So like the lines don't need to be exact or where it's going to really be. It could be totally wrong, in fact. Like I'm not going to ever erase it. Like I want these lines to always be visible, but in this very light way. As I go, I'm going to get darker and darker and darker. If you notice, the face is darker because I had drawn lines like this initially, but then I started darkening them in. None of these lines are finished lines. They're still exploratory lines. But I build up the figure with these very light lines. Oh, and another thing is that like a common way to draw when you're starting is to do this line that goes like this. It's like a hairy line, because you're like the way you should draw always is like these long calligraphic lines. Like you lay down your line confidently. When you do like this, it's a mark of being an artist who's like unsure and scared. Like this is a scared line. So I never do that. I draw my lines like with big, wide, swooping marks to indicate that I'm totally confident of what it's doing. So the figure is going to be doing something more or less like this. It's like, I'm going to come back and worry about the skirt later. For now, I feel pretty confident about what's going on up here. So I'm going to come back to the head and really concentrate on the head for a while. So, so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and really start darkening in the lines. So I'm confident with, okay, at this point I'm going to start using black. So I'm pretty confident about my eyebrows. So I'm going to just go ahead and like start lining them in darker. And the eye itself. Like, I liked the lines that I had. I think that they were well indicated. And this right here as well. Okay, so now with my brown, I am going to lay in the shadow. So it wraps around the eye. There's this beautiful shadow on their upper cheek, right there. And then I'm going to lay in with the side of my pencil the shadow of their forehead. So this whole side of their face is in shadow. So I'm going to, at this point, I think I'm ready to really like commit to the line of their nose. I think the angle is right. So at this point, what I really just want to do is kind of indicate the curve at the bottom of their nose, you know, like the subtleties of the way their nose moves and works across their face. And I'm going to commit with a dark line to the edge of their skin. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and lay in the other side in shadow, because all of this is in shadow. This is all in shadow. So drawing shadow is exactly the same as drawing the outline of the figure. So I look at this figure and I really think about where the outline is, and I practically draw it. It's like I could draw a line around the edge of the face, around the shadow that's right here. You know, it's like the shadow that's right here. I think about the shadow in terms of line, and I almost draw the edge of the shadow and then commit to the rest. So so at this point, I think I'm ready to like commit to their lips. Okay, and I think that I drew them a little too masculine. I'm going to soften it a little bit also. Let's see, this goes down like this. Okay, so I'm going to kind of redraw the edge of this and kind of tamp down how far in and out I had been drawing the edge of the line. Because I do want it to read as a more male physiognomy, but it's like I want to maintain this ambiguity of gender. So I'm going to kind of soften it just a little bit to make it, because like it's a hard balance between wanting them to read as a Simale at birth, and also wanting them to read as this sort of beautiful, soft femininity. And so, okay, I think that what I just did helped. Okay, I'm going to darken the eyes and eyebrows. So one of the ideas behind drawing in crayon is to allow the pencil and the color of the pencils to indicate the parts of the body. So for the most part, the body is going to be drawn in red. In this case, I'm a little unsure how I'm going to paint the clothing. Usually I draw the clothes with a black pencil to indicate the difference between the clothes and the figure. But because the clothes are pink, it's like red really does work better, and I think I'm going to have to decide later which I'm going to do. So I'm also going to come in with my black and just barely put a touch of shadow in there. And I'm going to darken their eyes. And darken down here a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to darken the shadows around the bottom of their face. Okay, so now I think I'm going to work on their hair. So because of this technique I use, I can erase the paper and leave it white. So I'm going to kind of draw the out some for the hair. I'm going to draw it with the graphite pencil, the black pencil. So the way I draw hair is to think about angles. So this looks pretty round, but it really isn't. It's like there's an angle that goes up like this, an angle that goes down like this, a straight up angle here, an angle there, and an angle on the top. I tend to think of it in terms of angles, so it doesn't feel too round. I mean, unless it actually is round, like they're wearing like they have a big like 70s style afro or something like that. I try to think of it in terms of the angles that the head itself is producing. So it's like there's an angle right here on the outside, and it jumps in like this, it jumps in like this, and it jumps in like this. There's an angle here along the edge of their hairline, and it comes down in a curl right there, and there's another curl out here. So that's pretty much the shape of their hair, and I'm going to erase the whole thing. Because I want the shadows up here to be gray. Like I want it to feel like they have white hair, and that is quite different than their body. So I'm going to erase this whole thing so that they have this white wig, and then I'm going to go draw on top of that. I shouldn't have drawn the edges quite so dark. That was a mistake. But that's okay, I can just erase them out. Because I don't want it to feel so rigid. I wouldn't have done that had I been drawing, like I did that because I'm giving a tutorial and I got carried away with the idea of the angles and stuff like that. So there is the outline of their face. So if you notice, it's already creating a beautiful contrast between their skin, which is reading as darker, and the hair on top. At this point, I think I'm going to use pink and throw in just a touch of pink on their skin because they're looking a little jaundiced. And that's going to warm them up and minimize the yellow of the paper. You know, I'm going to put that in the areas where I feel like their skin should be particularly warm. So I just want to warm it up a little bit, and I'm going to come back and deal with that later. For now, I'm going to work on the hair. So now I'm going to start laying in the shadows on the hair. So this area right here is basically the shadow side of their hair. So I'm going to start with the side of my pencil, shading this in quite lightly. Some of them right here, just a little bit of shade right there. I think that this needs to be slightly erased. Okay, and now I don't normally like smoothing with my finger, but I think in this case it needs to be really smooth because that hair feels so soft and cloudy. Generally, I don't like smoothing things with my finger because I think it makes the surface look kind of squishy. Like I like there to be texture. But okay. So now let's go up with my pencil. Just a little bit of shadow right here. So I think that the best way to handle the hair is, this is not something I would normally do, but I'm going to darken the whole thing in gray. Rub it in, and then erase out the lights because it's extremely subtle, and my paper has more texture than is allowing me to capture those subtleties. And I think that if I erase it, it'll help me to capture more of this effect that I want it to have. So let's see. I'm going to darken this area of their hair right here. I'm going to darken the outside of their hair right here. As it's moving around, darken a little bit there, darken a little bit there, rub it in again. Okay, and now I'm going to come back in and erase. Okay, so this area is definitely lighter. There's all of these like subtle places where the hair is catching the light. There's some right here where it sort of like turns around. And like this area, I'm going to erase most of it. Moves in. Moves in like that. Okay. I'm going to erase it on the outside there. And I'm going to put just a touch on the edge to indicate the edge of her hair. Okay, so now the face is feeling really dark compared to this cloudy smoothness of the hair. I'm not done with the hair either, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead and start erasing the highlights, just very subtly. So there's just a little bit of light. I want the skin up here to sort of blend into the hair just the tiniest bit. There's a highlight running beneath the eye right there, next to the nose right there. The top of the mouth is in light. I think I need to darken this area down here. Rub that in a little bit and smooth that. That's looking better. Okay, there's this beautiful shadow on the top of their cheekbones. They have really beautiful cheekbones. So I'm going to darken that in to indicate this, like the hollow, where the cheek sort of rises and dips. And there's this beautiful shadow cast by the hair that's falling. I'm going to outline the hair in black. And I'm going to cast the shadow across their cheek. So it's really dark just under the hair right there. Okay, and now I'm going to add actually I want to darken a little bit this area down here because it's in a slightly darker, like the lower part of their face is catching shadow. There's this beautiful shadow next to their mouth where it sort of dips at the corners of the mouth. And I need to darken the outside of their lips. I'm going to darken here. Okay, and now I'm going to use white gouache to indicate highlights on their face. So they really don't have that much in the way of highlights. Their face, it's like the light, the brightest light is really on their body. But I want to bring attention to their face. So I am going to create more contrast than actually exists on their face. So I've got a little bit of gouache, a tight, small and pointy brush, and I'm going to bring in just a touch of white gouache on the areas on their face that are where it's most pronounced. So on the brow ridge, right here, on their nose, there's just a touch of white there, and underneath their eye. And there's this touch of white just above their lip. There. Okay. And I'm going to come back to their hair and work on their hair just a little bit. So I'm going to use white pastel and sort of catch some of these areas where the hair is really like picking up these highlights. There. So it has like texture to it, which is actually like lifting off the paper and catching the light. And now, even though this is darker than what's actually happening in the real photo, I'm going to add some texture to the hair that's darker to show you where it's like moving around behind their face. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to come back and work on it some more. I think that the model is better looking than what I just drew, but there is the face so far. And I'm going to move on to, they also look a little older than they are in the original. It does need a little bit more work. But for now, I think I want to move on and actually, you know what? I'm not going to move on. I'm feeling a little unhappy with it. It's good, but it could be better. So let's see. I think I need to pull a little bit of the brown underneath. I need to emphasize this, and I need to pull in some of this dark side. So I think that it really does need to have a little bit of black on the face. So I'm just going to put a touch of gray over the dark side of the face. over the darker side of their forehead, and in this hollow of their eye. Oh yeah, that's definitely already better. Okay, I think that their lips need to be a little darker, so I'm going to darken that with the brown pencil. Yeah, that looks better. The top one I'm going to darken quite a bit. There's a shadow underneath. I'm going to darken, just at this point I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to throw a little bit of shadow underneath their chin. There's a shadow here. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. I definitely helped. Okay, that's making me feel happier. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and work on their torso. So, so first of all, I need to start with the hand. So like, I'm pretty happy with where the hand is. So I'm going to go ahead and draw. So hands are like anything else. It's like I want to simplify it into a shape. So what I normally do is I draw this part of the hand first. So it's like there's a shape that goes up, out, across, and over. It's like it's kind of like a diamond shape. Then I would draw the shape of the fingers. There's one shape. There's three shapes: the thumb, this shape, which is one single shape, and the pinky. So I'm going to go ahead and start thinking about that right now. So that goes up, over, down, and across. So this is the basic shape of this part of their hand. The thumb rises up into their bodice, just like that. The three fingers, I'm drawing them as one single group, basically from about there. There's space between this finger and that finger, but I'm not going to worry about that yet. And then the pinky moves out as this little independent shape over here. So that's basically the shape of that part of the hand. This is going to rise sideways. This basically just barely touches the side of their face. From here, it falls down. There's a slight angle there, and then it's going to rise up here. Their neck, I'm going to draw the edge of their neck and commit to that. So it's like this is coming down like this. Okay, so the hair, I'm going to come back to my black pencil. It's falling down like this, and then it falls in front. That's their hair. I'm going to go ahead and erase that. And I'm also going to erase, once and for all, some of this lace that's coming up out of the bodice above, like that. There's just a little bit between the thumb, and then it runs sideways and up, like that. Okay. So now I'm going to really finish the hand. So first of all, I'm going to think about this. So it's like I drew the basic shape. So now I'm going to refine that. So like it goes in subtly, out at the point of the thumb, straight up, and then out again where the finger, where the nail of the thumb is. This is going to come in just a little bit. And then these, I'm going to go ahead and divide them. The outside finger is at an angle out because there's a slight space between them. And then there's these two are together, like that. This one, I can see the nail, but these two are angling in, so I can barely see it. And then this finger is curving out. So I'm going to curve it a little bit more than it is in the original to make it look more feminine. Okay, so something I do a lot when I draw is I add shadow on hands, is I draw shadows that don't actually exist. If I draw a shadow here, it's going to make those fingers feel like they're curving in. That's not what's actually there, but it gives you that feeling. Here, there is an angle, there's a shadow here, which is, I'm exaggerating, to make that finger feel like it's coming out, like this. There's a slight shadow here. The shadow curls around underneath the pinky. There's a slight shadow here, which I just drew too dark. There's a slight shadow here. Okay, and now with my pencil, with my eraser, I'm going to erase out the areas that I want to feel light. So this area is lighter. There's a slight shadow there, a highlight there, and then just a touch of light that's going to come like that. So with my black, I'm going to indicate the darkest shadows. and then this hand will be done. So all I really want to do with this is just barely like clean it up and make it pop. That's all I'm doing. Okay, there. So this is my figure so far. So that hand is pretty much finished and the face is pretty much finished. I'm going to come back and smooth up the face a little bit, but it looks good. So I want to exaggerate the bow that's underneath. I think because I'm going to give it trans colors. So I'm going to make it bigger than it actually is. And while normally I prefer to draw with a black pencil for the clothes, in this case I'm going to draw with a brown one because I want to keep those pink tones and I want to keep it cool. So I'm going to draw the outside of this bow. It's coming out on the bottom. I'm going to draw ribbons. So this is obviously something I'm inventing. The original doesn't have this. And I'm going to erase the line on the inside to give it the trans, I'm going to give it a trans, she's wearing like a trans pride bow. There, so I'm going to erase the line in the middle. And I actually don't remember if the trans flag has pink on the outside or pink on the inside. I think the pink is on the inside. So I'm going to look that up online really quick while I'm drawing, so that I can come to that decision later. So D. Okay, just a second. So let's see. Trans pride flag. Sorry I'm doing this. I should have done this earlier, but I forgot. So the trans pride flag is pink on the inside and blue on the outside, just like I thought. So I'm going to go ahead with a blue colored pencil, draw blue on the outside. And I'm going to draw pink on the inside, leaving the white in the middle. And I'm going to use black to really throw in some shadows on here. I'm going to put some shadow underneath his finger. Shadow underneath there, shadow underneath here. I'm going to darken that, there. So that's the trans pride flag they have on their bodice. So now I'm going to concentrate on their décolletage, like this area on their torso. So for now I'm going to ignore the necklace because I'm going to come back in later and do that with paint. It's too fine to draw on either side of it. So I'm going to draw the shapes of the shadow that their neck is forming. So there's like a triangle there. And like I said, I'm ignoring the necklace for now. There's another shape right there, which moves in shadow. And then I am going to darken most of this. So I'm just going to pull in with the side of my pencil. It's just a subtly darker shade moving across their chest. So I'm going to put in a little bit of shadow in the shadow of this hair. And I'm going to darken, I'm going to draw with a black pencil the edge of their neck so that it's not confused for something else. Okay, this is darker. This is darker. And I'm going to draw lines moving across their torso, like that. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to expand how wide the lace is. So I'm basically doing the same thing with the lace that I had done with the hair on top of their head. I'm erasing the whole thing so that it's going to read as gray. And it doesn't feel like it's the same skin tones as their skin. So here, it's taller than, it extends above their finger. It had folded in there and I don't like that, so I'm going to pull it back out. Like the clothing had, that was you can tell that the lace had folded in when they put it on. Okay, so now I'm going to finish the hair. So there's these curls that are coming up. I kind of want to give some attention to this particular curl so that you can understand what it is. So I drew the edge of the curls. I'm going to throw a shadow on one side. And using the white pastel that I had used earlier, I'm going to throw in a little bit of highlight. Okay, and now I'm going to draw the lace. So first, with the brown pencil, I'm going to draw in a dark line the edge of the dress. Okay, and now with the black pencil, I'm going to draw the edge of the lace. So this lace feels like it almost feels like it's more like, not so much lace, but, oh, I forget what it's called, like a stiff see-through fabric that's not actually lace, but I can't remember what it's called. So I'm drawing a little bit of the texture of this. And I'm going to, with the side of my pencil, darken it, like in the shadow of their neck. It's darker right here, where it's curling around. There's a shadow cast by the dress itself on this side, right here as well, a shadow cast by their hand. And now, with the white, I'm going to add the necklace and the highlights to the lace. So with my fine pencil again, the first thing I'm going to do is draw their necklace. So it starts just at the point of their chin and angles down. At this point, it curls around their neck and moves up. And there's a diamond or something, like right there. This hair goes down further, and I'm going to kind of expressionistically add white here, especially here, this really bright. So I'm not doing it that carefully. I want to have texture so that it picks up the light. It's really bright in this spot too. Okay. So the paint I applied is actually like thick. So it's actually literally picking up the light because it's sticking up off the paper. And now for their necklace, I'm going to go over it with just a little bit of black to kind of clarify what's going on there. I'm going to darken on this side just a tiny bit where it's in the shadow. I'm going to darken underneath their chin. Yeah, and that looks really pretty. So that's their torso so far. So now I'm going to start working on the dress, like consciously. So I think that the first thing I'm going to do is finish this area of their bodice. So I'm going to continue with the red, and I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the elements that the original dress has already to give it the trans colors. So I think that this element is perfect for adding pink and blue in the trans flag design. So I'm going to start that up here. So let's see. So first of all, I'm going to think about their arm. So the arm moves basically straight out, and it doesn't go that far in. So what I could do is measure it at this point. So it's like, if I put my paper down, from the dark part of the arm to where the hand begins is that long. If I go over, that's the same length as to the ring. So it should be the same here. So there's where the ring would be, which I forgot to draw, and this is where the arm goes, like out to there. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the shape of this arm, which comes in basically like that. I'm going to put in the diamond really quick before I forget. So there's this it's dark right there, this little thing right there, and I'm going to add, while my paint is still wet, just a touch of white paint to highlight that ring. There. And you know, while I'm at it, I'm going to give them earrings. They're not wearing them, but so I'm putting a really chunky piece of paint there, which I'll come back later and touch up with. I'm going to put a chunky piece of white on their necklace here too, because it's really like picks up the light and is shiny. right there. So there, and a touch on their diamond pendant. Okay, so now I'm thinking about this area right here. So this basically it's almost straight out. So the arm is curving around like this right here. It comes in, down, and then there's a muscle right there. So it goes out like this, and then it goes out like this. Okay, there's white lace coming around a little bit right there.